What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NerdyMark channel. I am Sid the NerdyMark, and this is the NerdyMark Wrestling Show. This is my third attempt at recording this. I hope that it all goes well, because you know third time is a charm. We do have a bit of a loaded show today. We have a couple of news articles. Then we're going to talk about NXT TakeOver War Games, and then we're going to talk about AEW and NXT. AEW coming off of Winter is Coming, as well as the appearance of Kenny and Don Callis, which we will talk about on Impact Wrestling, as well as NXT, obviously coming off of War Games. So a lot of Fallout stuff going on here. Both were technically Fallout episodes, I guess. So that should be fun. But let's get into the first piece of news, and that is that Keith Lee, Otis, Daba Kato, AJ Styles' bodyguard, and someone else, Mace from Retribution, are all being sent back down to the WWE Performance Center as per one Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon feels that these guys are just not ready yet, which is interesting because Keith Lee and Otis were two people that Vince was very hot on for a while, even going as far as to giving Otis the Money in the Bank briefcase for a while, and even teasing like a bit of a storyline between Otis and Tucker. That didn't go anywhere because Tucker is basically now a jobber now, but so good for him. And Keith Lee, he had that big feud when he came in with Randy Orton, and then nothing. So, I mean, this was a very, very disappointing story of Keith Lee in the main roster. I mean, he had that big moment where he, stood up to Brock Lesnar and even knocked him down. He didn't eliminate him, but he freaking knocked him down. Excuse me. He had that big moment in Survivor Series. He was also one of the people in this year's Survivor Series. 2020 seemed to be shaping up to be a pretty profitable year for Keith Lee, and then we get this. So I am very surprised at what Vince McMahon is thinking. I mean, we all know his thought process is very erratic, so this should really come to no surprise to anybody, but still, somehow Vince continues to surprise us, so it's just ridiculous. But what do you guys think about this news? What do you guys think about Keith Lee and many others going back down to the WWE Performance Center just because Vince McMahon is bored of his new toys? So with that, let's get into the next piece of news. We're sticking with WWE. It looks like the main event, well, not the main event, it looks like the Universal title match for WrestleMania 37 is going to be Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, the Universal Champion, taking on Goldberg. Now, now a lot of people are like, oh my god, why is this happening? We don't need Goldberg on another title run. And obviously, I talked about this last week when people were comparing Sting coming to AEW to Goldberg returning to WWE. And I'll say this. I've actually wanted to see this match for a while. I've wanted to see Roman Reigns versus Goldberg for some time, just because both of them have very similar movesets, like the spear. Well, and that's pretty much it. But, Goldberg has spear and jackhammer. Roman Reigns has spear and Superman punch and Samoan drop. So one extra move. But I will say that Roman Reigns has improved drastically since his return. And I mentioned this already. So Roman is probably one of my favorite acts going into the main roster, along with The Fiend. And originally, apparently, there were plans to have Roman Reigns versus The Rock at Mania 37, which would make a lot more sense. But apparently, it seems like, according to The Rock and his movie schedule, I believe he is filming a movie called Red Notice. It's like a heist film or something. He's got other projects that he's working on, so which makes sense. And then obviously COVID and all that, and I don't know if he wants to travel. So I could kind of see why The Rock may not want to do this match just yet. Maybe he's waiting for crowds to come back, and that's totally fine. I am totally okay with that. However, I don't know if I want to see Roman Reigns vs. Goldberg now, because you're basically taking that away from me, that dream match between Roman and The Rock, and you're saying, oh, let's have Goldberg instead. Now, I've kind of, like I said, I've wanted to see this match, but if you give me a choice between The Rock versus Roman Reigns or Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, I'm obviously going to pick The Rock versus Roman Reigns because it makes more sense for the whole Tribal Chief storyline, the whole familial bloodline thing. Goldberg is just someone who Roman Reigns came up to and said, I am next, and they were supposed to have that match, and then, the whole thing with his leukemia. So, I don't know. All I can hope is that Roman Reigns retains against Goldberg. But the thing is, it's weird, because if Goldberg wins, he's squashing another younger talent, and if Roman Reigns wins, he basically just beat the shit out of an old man. So that's basically a lose-lose situation here. Again, this is why you needed The Rock instead of Goldberg. But hey, why would WWE listen and give us what we want, right? Because, obviously they're just so stuck in their ways. And it's just the thing, I don't like talking shit about WWE. I really don't. I really hope that they will get better. But the thing is, the business practices with Vince McMahon, he's just so stuck in his ways. Like I said, his behavior is very erratic. So what now? Is he not? He was so hot on Roman for 5 years, and what now that? And now what? He's turned heel, so you don't like him anymore? What is this? Okay, what's going on? That's gonna be my. I might get super pissed and actually rant if Roman is dethroned by Goldberg at Mania 37. Crossing my fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, but you don't know. So, and that's just the thing. That's just the worst part. You don't know. What's next? Brock Lesnar going to come back and challenge for the title again against Roman? I mean, come on, dude. Actually, Brock Lesnar would have been a better choice because, Brock Lesnar was Paul Heyman's client. So there's a whole storyline going over there. You have this whole love triangle between Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns. Not really, but you get the point. That would have actually been a better match. It would have been a better story, in my opinion. But they went with Goldberg because, I don't know, he's available. But hey, Goldberg did recently, in the recent past, move to Texas. So, belated welcome to Texas, Goldberg. Whatever. Anyway, shifting away from WWE, let me know what you guys think about Roman versus Goldberg potentially happening at Mania 37. So, with that, let's move on to our next piece of news. We move from WWE and move into Impact Wrestling. More specifically, Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Kenny Omega's first appearance in Impact Wrestling. Now, I actually did watch Impact this week. Can you believe it? Are you happy, Armbar Audio? Are you happy? But I did watch Impact this week. A very solid show. Of course, let's talk about the whole interview that Josh Matthews had with Callis and Omega. Very good interview. I really liked it. I liked see Kenny Omega back to his heelish ways, as you can see right here. His hair is back to that blonde and gold color. That was kind of like what he looked like in Japan with the glasses. I mean, yeah, the cleaner is pretty much back. So as you can see, that's why, of course, I'm repping his gear, the cleaner gear, right? Because it says the cleaner. It has the cleaner written on it, so it makes perfect sense for me to have this shirt on. Anyway, so with that being said, though, let me do that. Here we go. Let's get a better look at that, right? But Kenny Omega and Don Callis cut a pretty decent promo. My only critique is that I wish Don Callis would have let Kenny speak a little bit more. I get that he's in a managerial role, but Kenny can actually cut a good promo. If you watch this stuff in New Japan, you know that he actually is very good at promos, and I feel like he's one of the more underrated people, one of the people that we don't really talk about when it comes to good promo artists. So, excuse me. So Kenny Omega, obviously, he's it was really cool because they were changing the nameplate from Jon Moxley to Kenny Omega, and they did a lot of callbacks to WWE, and Omega at one point even took the John Moxley nameplate, and you try to give it to. He's like, "Hey, Josh, do you want it as a souvenir? You were a big fan of Ambrose back in the day. It's Tough Enough, right?" That was pretty cool. Obviously, they harassed Josh Matthews a little bit. They talk about Kenny Omega does justify his actions, saying that Don Callis was like a father figure, and Moxley basically put his hands on someone I considered my dad, and so I basically hit him with a microphone. Don Callis basically said that this was something that we've been planning since Kenny Omega was like 10 years old. He's like the invisible hand. The Golden Sheik, who was, of course, Kenny's uncle, basically introduced Kenny and Don Callis back in the day. So, there's a whole thing with the familial history going on over there. So, yeah, it was a pretty good promo. Pretty good stuff here by Don Callis. Kenny Omega talks about how he's basically just getting started. He talked about how he used to collect comic books when he was younger. But he's like, now, I think I want to collect championships. I have the AAA title. I have the AEW title. Maybe I'll go for the Impact title next. So does this mean that Kenny is going to actually go on an expedition, his own expedition of gold? I guess time will tell. But I'm really excited to see what they have in store for Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Looking forward to see the next chapter of the story unfold. Hopefully next week, because apparently they are featured. They are scheduled to be on Impact next week as well. So let's see what they have to say. But let me know what you guys thought about Don Callis and Kenny Omega's appearance on Impact Wrestling, and what do you think they're going to have to say next week and their subsequent appearance once again. So with that, let's move on and let's talk about NXT TakeOver War Games. Very good pay-per-view. I mean, I have not seen a bad takeover at all. I think all the matches were either pretty good to fantastic. Obviously, standouts for me were the women's War Games match, which was really good, in which we saw Raquel Gonzalez. I was going to say Reina Gonzalez, but no, Raquel Gonzalez and pinning Io Shirai to win the match for Team LeRae. We saw Johnny Gargano become the North American champion once again with the help of Austin Theory. I mean, okay, I get it that you're a heel, but Austin Theory was Ghostface. I mean, maybe why don't you just put Velveteen Dream in your team as well, Johnny? Then you'll be an absolute dick heel. So yeah, keep going. We saw Tommaso Ciampa beat Timothy Thatcher in a really good, solid match, very underrated in my opinion. And we also saw the strap match, Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis, another really good match, and of course Dexter Lumis won that one, and he did the whole thing where he was caressing Cameron Grimes. That was kind of scary, but also really, really cool for Lumis's character. So that was good, and of course we finally did see the Undisputed Era victorious over the Brand. Right? That's the name of Pat McAfee's team, I guess. Right? The Brand. So very, very good pay-per-view overall. For me, standout matches for me were both War Games matches, men's and women's, and for me, Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa. All three really good matches. So overall rating for War Games, 2 thumbs up, man. I have no gripes with it. Oh, and we got a vignette for Karrion Kross. We'll talk about that in NXT when we talk about NXT. But for now, let me know what you guys thought about NXT TakeOver War Games. I need to stop doing that because William Regal is not here. I think I should just hire him. Well, I don't have the money right now, but I need to figure out if I can find some way to get William Regal to shout War Games for me. Like, that would be really cool. So, William Regal, hit me up. Anyway, he seems like such a cool guy, though, in real life. Like, I would love to meet him and just have, like, coffee with him or something. Well, I'm sure he would love a spot of tea, but you get the point. Anyways, I'm just messing around, guys. But let's get on to this week's shows, and let's start with AEW. Now, AEW, I'm not gonna lie, it was fine. AEW was a good show. It wasn't like amazing, frankly, but it was a pretty solid show. It was a pretty good show. It was a decent show. Let's just put it that way. It was fine this week. We did begin with a really good match. The Young Bucks taking on TH2. Very, very good stuff here. We had a lot of good spots here. Both of these teams are just absolutely fantastic. TH2 continue to show why they are one of the best tag teams in all of AEW. Honestly, this match is a testament as to why AEW's tag team division is so freaking stacked, and it just shows that there is just it's just amazing, man. Like I love this. I love the tag team division on AEW. And of course, finally, we did have the Young Bucks taking the victory over Angelico and Jack Evans by hitting the BTE trigger on Jack Evans, I believe. Afterwards, we had the Acclaim, that tag team that freestyled on the Young Bucks. And then we had, of course, SCU coming out to have an intervention. So it looks like we're going to have SCU versus the Acclaimed next week. So that should be a fun match. We, of course, had a vignette for Darby Allin where he's taking a Rorschach test. Basically, calling out all the members of Team Taz. And then finally we see one more Rorschach painting in the form of Sting. And Darby Allin just laughs. And that's it. So that was interesting. Looking forward to see if there is anything between Sting and Darby Allin. Is there going to be some sort of partnership between them? Is there going to be like a... Sorry, I was just stretching. Is there going to be some sort of partnership between them? Is there going to be a... what is going to happen between these two? Is your guess is as good as mine. I do feel like Sting and Darby are going to, do something together. It would make the most sense, in my opinion. I think that both of them are very similar characters. I feel like Darby Allin. A lot of people compare Darby Allin to Jeff Hardy. I would say Darby Allin is like Jeff Hardy and Sting mixed together. Look at it. I mean, Sting wears all black. Darby wears all black. Sting wears black and white face paint. Darby covers half of his face with black and white face paint. Sting has a bat. Darby has a skateboard. I mean, similarities are pretty much there, in my opinion, as far as physically, as it were. And I would say Sting was a high flyer back in the day, and Darby very much being a high flyer. So, yeah, I can see the similar... So, there you go. I mean, I think he's very much like Sting. And like Jeff Hardy, too. Willing to take risks and whatnot. Speaking of Sting, we had Sting finally address everybody for the first time. Cody came out with Arn Anderson. Then Sting came out. And, of course, we had Tony Schiavone scream, "It's Sting!" once again. That was good to hear. But I can't do it like Tony Schiavone because Tony is just awesome. Anyway, so Sting finally came out. He addressed the crowd. He cut a very cryptic promo with Cody still in the ring. Cody basically said that he has been waiting a very long time to share a ring with Sting, and obviously this, and seeing as on AEW's website they have a win-loss record, a 0-0 win-loss record for Sting. Excuse me. I have a sneaky suspicion that Sting might wrestle again. Now, this is just speculation, but I don't know if I want to see that. Just because of what happened in WWE with Seth Rollins and Triple H. Well, Not so much Triple H as much Seth Rollins. Like, the thing with Triple H, that shouldn't have happened. Like, Sting should have won that match. But the thing with Seth Rollins, where he got injured because of a very terribly timed buckle bomb, that was unfortunate, and I really don't want to see. And Sting is like 61 years old. I really don't want to see him getting hurt again or something worse. The thing is, I'm not so worried about Sting, probably dethroning Kenny Omega or even Darby Allin for that matter. Oh shit, I hope he doesn't dethrone Darby Allin. But I don't see that happening. I feel like AEW kind of uses their legends a little bit better than WWE does. We talked about this last week. But I feel like this is Sting. Maybe he wants one final match to end out his wrestling career, and then maybe he'll go into more of a manager role. Some people said Sting as a GM. That would be great. I would be totally fine with that. Some people have said Sting, like I said, Sting managing Darby. That's perfect. But I think Sting, because I really want Sting, though, to be able to get physical when he needs to. Like, Arn Anderson, for example, he does get physical whenever he has to. Like, he's hit a couple of spine busters before. But, of course, the only person to really have a match, the only legend in AEW so far, was DDP. And that was fine. That was just one match. And that wasn't for, like, a title or anything. That was just him wanting to hit a diamond cutter on MJF for talking about his daughter. That's fine. Sting, on the other hand, I don't really see him, as far as like in a wrestling capacity, I don't really see him going after any world titles. That would make no sense in my opinion. I think Sting should, like I said, be more of a, kind of give more back to the wrestling community. I think he needs to, I would rather him be, like I said, in more of a manager position, whether it is a GM, whether they do introduce a GM character, an on-screen GM character, or if he's just managing Darby Allin. One of those. That would be really cool. So, but either way, this promo was okay. I mean, Sting is fine on the mic, but like I said, it leaves us more questions than answers. And of course, he did in the end, put his arm around Cody's shoulder and said, "See you around, kid." So, again, does this mean that he's going to wrestle Cody? I hope not, but hey, we'll see. Sticking with the the Cody Rhodes, we had Brandy Rhodes and Shaq in a sit-down interview with Tony Schiavone. Shaq basically apologizes for Jade Cargill's behavior, but he said he wants to see Jade Cargill and Brandy Rhodes, and she says fine. And he says, while your arm heals, because her arm is in a sling, he says, while your arm heals, you can learn a thing or two from Jade. Shaq says that. And Tony Schiavone has a glass of water, which Brandy takes and just splashes it on Shaquille O'Neal's face. This was weird. I didn't really care for this promo, or this segment, whatever this was. Brandy definitely has improved as a wrestler. She's gotten a lot better as a promo artist as well. Compared to Jade Cargill, she's amazing on promos, first of all. I guess they're building towards Jade versus Brandy. I don't really care. Again, Jade Cargill, she has a great look, but can she wrestle is my question. I know she was a physical trainer and whatnot, but I don't know. I really don't know. So can you at least give her some squash matches? Can you give Jade Cargill a couple of matches that establish her as a formidable force, as a threat, as a force to be reckoned with? Have Brandy sit in commentary and watch her matches. Do that. You want to build up the storyline, that's what you have to do. You have someone like Brandy sit there and watch her matches. Have Brandy be a little bit more physical in the ring. Get her out there. Show that, hey, Brandy's been training in wrestling. I know she's the chief Brandy officer, but, Jade Cargill is really getting under her skin. And show that, oh, shit, when Brandy's pissed off, you are in some deep shit. And so show that by obviously giving these two matches. Have Jade Cargill sit on commentary during Brandy's matches and vice versa. Just build that storyline. I would love to see Brandy go full ghetto again. Like ghetto Brandy was awesome. Can we get that trending, please? Can we get hashtag ghetto Brandy trending? I would love that. That would be so awesome. But anyway, so yeah, but that's what I want to see. Like if you're gonna build this match, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a great match, frankly, but I think you can still get a decent story out. Well, you can get some sort of story out of it, I guess. But I didn't really care for that. But anyway, we did have FTR taking on the Varsity Blondes in a pretty decent match. I mean, Varsity Blondes are Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Good to see Brian Pillman on Jr. on AEW. So this was pretty cool. This was a decent match. Again, unlike the women's tag team division, unlike the women's division, the tag team division, AEW has nothing to worry about. I mean, I know they have an emphasis on tag teams, so that's perfect. But here's the thing. I do want to mention this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to rant all the time, but I really, really need to get this off my chest. Are AEW focusing so much on the tag team division? Maybe that's why their women's division is struggling. Because, yeah, we have great tag team matches. We have some amazing tag teams. But can we please focus on improving the women's division? Your tag team division is solid. It's set. You have nothing to worry about when it comes to tag teams. But your women's division, AEW, it sucks. I'm sorry, but it does. And literally there's only a few people that I can really say that I care about. Like, I'm glad at least Serena Deeb is on AEW. Perhaps this Impact partnership will provide fruitful for AEW's women's division. Although, Abaddon is getting a bit of a push now, so I'm happy about that. We'll talk about Abaddon in a sec. But this was a good match, though. FTR versus Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman. FTR do beat Pillman and Garrison with a Goodnight Express, continuing to rise in the ranks once again in the tag team division. So this was fine. This was cool. Backstage, we did have Hangman Adam Page, and he's in the bar. He's just drinking, and he's getting asked who his partners are going to be against Matt Hardy and Private Party. John Silver and Alex Reynolds come out, and basically they make a case to Hangman Page, who accepts them as his tag team partners. So next week we're having a 6-man tag against Hangman and the Dark Order versus the Hardy Party. So this is interesting. So Hangman, I think that hopefully Hangman is going to be getting a singles push at some point. I do feel like they're letting him linger on a little bit in tag team for some time, and then eventually he'll be catapulted into the singles division. So, but I'm really excited to see this match. It should be a fun match. We did have 10 taking on Dustin Rhodes. Okay match here. Nothing to write home about. Dustin can still go. Dustin beats 10 with a running bulldog, which is interesting. Afterwards, Evil Uno comes in and he tries to recruit Dustin Rhodes. Tells him to take his rightful place as 7. Okay, don't. I mean, he went there. He went there. For those who don't know, Dustin Rhodes was going to portray a character called Seven, who loved to peek into children's bedrooms. So that didn't go over too well, and literally he cut one promo where he said he's not. Where he basically buried himself and just went back to being Dustin Rhodes. So that was interesting. I don't know why we had to do that, but hey, whatever. Let's move on. And I went a little bit out of order because I talked about the sit-down interview with Brandy Rhodes and Shaq, but yeah, you already know about that. Then we had the whole ultimatum with the Inner Circle. They basically, the whole ultimatum was they either start to get along or the Inner Circle is disbanded forever. Sammy Guevara basically makes it a point to say that he trusts Chris Jericho, but he has his eye on MJF, and if he tries anything stupid again, it's not going to be a fun day to be MJF. And finally, we had Wardlow cut a promo on Jake Hager. Because Jake Hager said that Wardlow kept on staring at him for, all this time, and Wardlow finally says, "I've been looking at you. You've been staring at me. Hey, it talks." For both Jake Hager and for what's his face, Wardlow. So I'm guessing again. I think we're getting closer and closer, inching closer and closer to an Inner Circle Civil War. Like I said, I definitely would love to see the teams be something like. I guess it's going to be more of a tag team thing because it'll probably be Hager and Sammy versus Wardlow and MJF. Anyways, we need to have that Wardlow MJF storyline play out. They kind of talked about it a little bit. They teased it here and there, but they haven't really done much with it. So we'll see. As far as like Santana and Ortiz, it looks like Santana's cool with MJF, but Ortiz not so much. But I don't feel like they're gonna break those two up anytime soon. So I would feel like Santana and Ortiz are gonna be like, okay, fine, we're gonna be we're cool, but these four need to fight. Although I would rather see a 6-man tag match pitting Santana and Ortiz against each other. I think that would just be interesting. I know I'm a terrible person, but whatever. Also we saw. Another. Speaking of Santana, he was conspicuous in his absence. That is actually because on his Instagram he mentioned that his father passed away. So rest in peace to his father. My condolences to Santana and his family. Hope they're doing okay. But let's move on. So we finally get our main event. Eddie Kingston, the Butcher, Baker, and Candlestick Maker. I mean the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, taking on Lance Archer and the Lucha Bros. Now, I'm still wondering what's going on with Pac. Apparently, he went back to London to be with his family or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see when he can fly back from England to America with all the circumstances. I'm wondering what the situation. If anyone is watching and you are from the UK, I wonder what is the situation like over there. I hope all of you are staying safe across the pond. I know my bro boys at Upside Down Shark live over there. So if y'all are watching this video, let me know what's the situation. What's the COVID situation over there? I know y'all got the vaccine coming up soon. I know that the vaccine has pretty much been delivered to UK. The first woman to get it was like 90. So hopefully we get it in America soon. Anyways, we're getting off topic, but this was a pretty chaotic match. We had Penta leaving the match early on because he got injured. It looks like the injury is legit. This actually did allow the Butcher and the Blade and Eddie to pick up the win over Lance and Penta. We had a bit of a beatdown between them, so that was something. It was fine. It is what it is. It wasn't really. Oh, I'm sorry. This was not the main event. I don't know why I said this was the main event, but yeah, it was good. It was a really good match. But moving on, we did have backstage. We continue to see an alliance between Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. This time, she's going after Brandy's protege, Red Velvet. Brandy comes to help, as does Serena Deeb. And, of course, Eva Lise is coming there to help the heels. So this Jade Cargill alliance, that's actually pretty interesting. At least on Jade Cargill's side, the alliance thing is going on. So that's pretty cool. So it looks like we're having Jade Cargill, of course, Eva Lise, and Nyla Rose. And I guess all of them might be managed by Vicky Guerrero. This is a very profitable night for her. So good on you, Vicky. Make your money. So that's pretty cool. Then we had Abaddon winning against Tesha Price. That was cool. Like I said, Abaddon's getting a bit of a push. And out came Hikaru Shida with a kendo stick. She was a little apprehensive, but she just whacked Abaddon across the head, who, of course, did the Undertaker sit-up after some time. And that scared the shit out of her, and she helped Tesha Price out of the ring, and they both hauled ass. So I'm really excited for this match. If Abaddon is the one to take the title off of Shida, I would have no issues with that, frankly. And then we had Don Callis and Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, address the crowd, address AEW this time. And it was pretty much the exact same promo we got on Impact Wrestling, except for the fact that Kenny was about to reveal something, but Don Callis said no, they're not ready for that surprise yet. But pretty much every single point that was hit on their Impact promo was hit over here. So I didn't really see the point of it. If they were not going to talk again, more answers than questions, no, more questions than answers. Sorry. With all of these promo, with every single promo this week, with the promo, the Sting promo, with the Darby Allin vignette, with the Kenny Omega Don Callis segment, again, more questions than answers. So I guess next week they are going back to Impact, and we're gonna see, we're gonna see what they do there. But that's pretty much it. So of course we finally do end it out with the goodbye and good night thing. And then the main event is MJF taking on Orange Cassidy for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. This was actually a very even match. I really liked it. I feel like I do wish that MJF lost this match so he could have had Orange Cassidy with the Diamond Ring and he could have done this with the ring on his thumb. But it's okay. I think it fits MJF's character a little bit more to have that ring, which he, of course, uses as a weapon. Obviously, the distraction with Miro and Kip Sabian. Why are they still together? Like, oh my God. I'm just kind of done with that feud. Best friends versus Miro and Kip Sabian. I'm just done with that feud. Can we please move Miro onto something else? Like, give the man a singles push. Like, what are y'all doing with Miro? He left WWE because, obviously he got fired, but then, he obviously got but he had to leave because of that cuckold storyline. The last thing that he had was that cuckold storyline between Lana and Bobby Lashley. And here we are, hoping that he will have greener pastures, but here he is stuck with Kip Sabian doing absolutely nothing. To be fair, it's a little bit better than your real life, having his real life wife actually pretend to love someone else other than Rusev, Miro, just for the sake of a freaking storyline. And also he got punished for Rusev Day getting over. So there's that. Apparently, like I said, I read somewhere, I even saw in an interview with Tony Khan, he said that he has big plans for Miro. At this point, I'll believe it when I see it. So we'll see. But yeah, anyway, because of the distraction, we do have MJF retaining the Dynamite ring. So there's that. But that's pretty much it. That's how we end up AEW. Let's move on to NXT, which came hot off of the wheels of War Games. We did have the NXT champion, Finn Balor, open up the show. Of course, he was interrupted by Pete Dunne, then Kyle O'Reilly, and then Damien Priest. All three who want a piece of Finn Balor and want to attempt to get a shot at that gold. I, for one, would love to see Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor because we have not seen that match in NXT. And then we had Finn Balor, and then the three men, Priest, O'Reilly, and Dunne, argue amongst themselves, and Finn Balor just quietly leaves, and Damien's like, "Hey, champ, where are you going?" Finn's like, "Well, you guys can argue amongst yourself. I don't care which one of you it is." We hear Karrion Kross's theme. Out comes Scarlett, and he looks at her. Finn looks at her and says, "Let me guess. You're gonna say tick-tock," and he just leaves. Damien Priest Damien Priest basically talks some smack about Karrion Kross to Scarlett, who just smiles and goes backstage. We'll talk about this. This is not over. We had Jake Atlas taking on Isaiah Swerve Scott, which was a actually very good match. and I'm really excited. This was just really good stuff, and Atlas did get the win, but he tried to shake Swerve Scott's hand, but Swerve was having none of it. Are we seeing a heel turn for Mr. Isaiah Swerve? Only time will tell. Then we had the Grizzled Young Veterans taking on Everrise and Imperium and winning in a triple threat tag team match. Pretty good here. Pretty good stuff. We had a few promos. We had a promo with Xia Li, my lovely wife, and Boa. They're going through more torture. I'm looking to see where this goes. This looks interesting. Are they basically going to be like the apprentices of this weird Chinese hooded lady? I don't know. Then we had Tommaso Ciampa taking on Cameron Grimes, and while he was taking on Cameron Grimes, Timothy Thatcher came, much like Tommaso Ciampa, and he put a chair right there, and he just sat there. So, that was pretty cool. Of course, Tyler Rust tried to get involved, one of Thatcher's students, but he got, knocked for his troubles. But finally, Cameron Grimes tried to capitalize off the distraction, but he did get hit with Willow's Bell to win the match, and it looks like the feud between Ciampa and Thatcher is far from over. Cameron Grimes tried to, get at Thatcher's face, but Thatcher broke his leg. I guess we're getting a match between those two next week, so we'll see what happens there. Backstage, we did have Malcolm Bivens making a proposition to Tyler Rust. Looking forward to see what happens, because I know that they were having a thing with the Rinku and Samir or something with those two Indian with that Indian tag team. I forget their name, but basically two Jinder Mahal clones. That's what they look like. Anyway, Indus Sher. Yeah, that's the name. That's their name. I remember. So I don't know what happened with Indus Sher. Are they back home in India because of quarantine? I'm not sure. By the way, speaking of which, in India, it's actually a lot. The situation is a little bit better because everyone is actually, wearing masks. So there's that. Anyway, that's besides the point. Then we did have Gargano, the Gargano family celebration with Indy Hartwell and, of course, Austin Theory. And all four of these people are known as the Way. So, the Gargano Way. This was a very, very entertaining segment. Excuse me. Johnny Gargano basically gave Candice a trophy with Shotzi Blackheart's head on it. It was really cool. I really liked it. Damien Priest came out and basically said, hey, to Austin Theory, and said, hey, do you have that pipe? Because I'm going to shove it up your ass. It's like, I don't know if you want to do that to Austin Theory. Anyways, Austin Theory was actually kind of funny in this segment because they're like, this is the way, and he's like, the Milky Way. I was like, Austin Theory, you don't want to say that right now. Yeah, it was interesting though. I don't know why I still don't understand why they have Austin Theory there. I mean, with everything that happened with the whole speaking out movement, so whatever. But yeah, Karrion Kross comes in and attacks Damien Priest. So it looks like that's going to be the feud. Apparently, Theory and Gargano were going to face off against Priest and Ruff next week, but of course he gets taunted. But of course, backstage, Leon Ruff gets taunted by Gargano and Theory. Kushida comes in and says, "I'll be your partner." So we're going to get Kushida and Leon Ruff taking on Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory next week. Should be a good match. So with that, let's move on. Pete Dunne took on Killian Dain after Pete Dunne did attack Killian Dain a couple weeks back, and now we have this match. Pretty good stuff here. We did have Pete Dunne. We did have Otis. No. We did have Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan get involved, the NXT Tag Team Champions. And quite frankly, they're being more of a heel than Pete Dunne is, frankly. Like, Pete Dunne, yeah, he aligned himself with the brand, but he doesn't do anything, super heelish. You know? He just kind of, sits there and stares has that scowl on his face, which is interesting. So that's why he could totally just be a face or a heel. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, they do help him. The brand do, without Pat McAfee, conspicuous by his absence. And they do help. Pete Dunne does put away Killian Dain with the bitter end. Of course, we did have Drake Maverick come in with his chair to try to drive off Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch in the middle, but they attacked him, and then, of course, the bitter end by Pete Dunne, which is crazy because the Pete Dunne could pick up Killian Dain and hit the bitter end. That was awesome. That was a great stuff. It really shows, his conditioning has improved, so I'm really happy for that. But yeah, and he, pins Killian Dain. So that was that. That was a decent match. And then finally we had our main event. Raquel Gonzalez taking on Ember Moon. Fantastic match here. A lot of crazy stuff. These two women absolutely tore it down. Unlike AEW, I will say this: the tag team division in NXT is good, but AEW's tag team division is right now unbeatable. Same way, NXT's tag team division though is stacked and miles ahead of AEW. So it's pretty interesting to see. Although, like I said, AEW's partnership with Impact could change that. So let's see what happens down the road. Anyways, so fantastic match here. Both these women absolutely, coming hot off the wheels of War Games. Just obviously Ember Moon having something to prove. At one point, Ember does climb the top, but Raquel brings her down. She brings her back into the ring and pins Ember Moon to win the match. She did counter the Eclipse attempt and hits a huge clothesline, and finally she hits a single arm power bomb to win the match against Ember Moon. Afterwards, we had Toni Storm coming out and trying to attack Ember, but out came Rhea Ripley. And Toni Storm's expressions were really good. She was trying to attack Ember Moon, but she heard, "This is my brutality," and she just she got so scared, and she kind of backed up, and then obviously Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley had a stare down, so it looks like we're getting another match between these two. I'm very, very excited. Toni Storm and Ember Moon, that's a feud I'm really looking forward to as well. Apparently Dakota Kai did get injured. I believe after Ember Moon hit a move on her. I forgot what it was, but yeah, Dakota Kai is injured, which is why Raquel wasn't out there with her. So, and that's cool. I'm glad they're kind of giving her a bit of a singles push as well. Something besides her just being Dakota Kai's muscle. So I'm really excited about that. So that's how we ended up NXT. Overall, I thought both shows were really good. Nothing stood out for me. I mean, definitely Sting's, like I said, Sting had a cryptic promo. I mean, Sting is a name value, so obviously AEW shot up in the ratings and got closer and closer to the millions mark. So we'll see what happens. I was still a little disappointed with Kenny and Don Callis' promo because it was literally just a rehash of what they said on Impact. So hopefully on Impact, I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess we're going to have to tune in again. And I'll definitely be talking about it as soon as it happens. But with that, let me know what you guys thought about everything, all the news articles about War Games, Kenny on Impact, and on AEW. What did you think about both shows this week? And all that good stuff. But thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Hit that bell and tell your friends about the Nerdy Mark. With that being said, this is Sid signing off. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.